At first glance, a tide pool looks peaceful. A sparkling pocket of seawater trapped between the rocks, dotted with shells, seaweed, and tiny creatures living their tiny lives. Kids splash in them. Photographers love them. Tourists crouch over them, pointing at little critters like they've discovered a secret world. But what most people don't realize is that tide pools are not peaceful at all. They are battlegrounds. They're miniature war zones where every inch of space matters, every crack in the rock is potential housing, and every creature is fighting, quietly, slowly, and sometimes dramatically, to survive. In the tide pool world, the difference between thriving and disappearing completely can be a single tide cycle. One wave, 1 inch, one moment, and the main competitors in this tiny marine neighborhood drama: crabs, snails, and starfish. 3 creatures, 3 very different personalities, and 1 very small battlefield. This is the Great Tidepool Standoff. Life in a tide pool begins with the tides themselves. Twice a day the ocean pulls back, stranding animals in a shrinking pocket of water. The sun beats down, the water heats up, predators lurk above, and oxygen levels drop. It's like being stuck in an elevator with your entire extended family while the AC is broken. The only way to survive is to find the best spot: shade, moisture, safety, access to food. And in a tide pool, best spot usually means one thing: real estate. Every animal is trying to claim a little slice of rock, a shadowy ledge, a crack, a tiny cave, anything that gives them the advantage. And no creatures take this competition more seriously than crabs. Crabs are the bouncers of the tide pool. Tough exoskeletons, pinching claws, sideways swagger. They're built like little tanks with attitude. They don't tiptoe, they stomp. They don't ask, they pinch. They treat the tide pool like it's their personal property, patrolling the edges, shoving competitors away, and defending their chosen rock like it's beachfront gold. A crab doesn't just take a spot, it claims it, and every other creature knows it. Then you have the snails, slow, steady, patient. Snails don't fight like crabs. They don't chase, they don't pinch. They simply show up early, sit down, and refuse to leave. Snails are the quiet landlords of the tide pool, gliding over surfaces and scraping algae with a calmness that borders on disrespect. While everyone else is battling for space, snails are just living their slow, unbothered lives. But don't be fooled. Snails are strategic. They know the value of a good nook in a rock. They know where the shade hits at low tide. They know which spots keep them moist, cool, and alive. And if a snail locks down a prime location, good luck convincing it to move. It's like trying to get a cat to leave a warm laptop. It's not happening. And then, of course, there are the starfish. Starfish are the quietest and strangest competitors in the tide pool standoff. They move slowly, so slowly that most people never realize how dangerous they are. But starfish are predators, efficient ones. Their entire body is basically a mobile feeding machine. They creep across the rocks like silent assassins, and anything in their path, especially snails and mussels, should start drafting a will. A starfish doesn't chase. It doesn't fight directly. It doesn't need to. It simply glides into a good position, plants itself on top of a helpless snail or shellfish, and begins a feeding process so bizarre it borders on science fiction. It pries open shells with thousands of tiny tube feet, then pushes its own stomach out of its body and into the shell to digest the prey alive. Try telling that to someone who thinks starfish are cute. In the tide pool, every creature has its strategy. Crabs use aggression, snails use persistence, starfish use slow-motion horror. And because the environment changes constantly, water levels rising and falling, sunlight shifting, waves crashing, the battle for space never ends. At low tide, crabs scramble to find shade beneath rocks and seaweed. They shove snails aside. They fight each other. They posture in dramatic standoffs that look like crustacean boxing matches. A crab will defend a single wet patch of sand as if it's the last real estate on Earth. Snails, meanwhile, cling to surfaces and ride out the chaos. They tuck inside their shells and wait. They understand that time favors the patient. As long as they stay moist and stay put, they'll survive. The starfish move with glacial confidence, drifting between pockets of water like slow aquatic warlords. They're not fighting for shade. They're hunting for opportunity. A snail that wanders too far, a mussel that loosens its grip, a clam exposed by a wave. To a starfish, these aren't neighbors. They're brunch. But the real tension begins when the water returns. The tide crashes back in with a roar, sweeping over the rocks like a reset button. Bubbles swirl, water surges. Suddenly, the entire tide pool wakes up. Crabs become swift hunters again. Snails emerge from hiding and begin grazing. Starfish lift their arms like they're receiving power from the ocean itself. With the water back, movement returns, and so does ambition. Crabs chase each other across rocks, fighting for territory like gladiators in a tiny marine arena. Snails begin migrating toward fresh algae patches, moving at their signature. Eventually, I'll get there. Pace. Starfish spread out, exploring new surfaces, testing new spots, asserting quiet dominance simply by occupying space with their impossibly sticky tube feet. Space becomes precious again. Tension rises. The standoff continues. For crabs, victory means control. A crab that owns the best crevice can protect itself, hunt easier, and intimidate smaller creatures. For snails, victory means survival. Finding a patch of rock with enough algae to keep eating and enough moisture to avoid cooking in the sun. For starfish, victory means access to food. The perfect position is one that lets them glide to their next meal without wasting energy. Inches matter here. 1 inch too high, and you dry out. 1 inch too low, and a wave knocks you into the open ocean. 1 inch too close to a crab, and you get pinched. 1 inch too close to a starfish, and you become lunch. The tide pool doesn't feel dramatic to us, but to the creatures living inside, it's a constant negotiation, a real-time, slow-motion battle for existence. Every move is calculated, every position is earned, every inch is contested, and somehow, through all the competition, the tide pool remains in balance. No creature ever wins forever. The water shifts, the tide changes, and the board resets twice a day. Crabs rise in the morning, snails dominate at noon, starfish rule at night. The cycle continues endlessly, a tiny marine kingdom built on tension, strategy, and survival. So the next time you peer into a tide pool, remember, those aren't just little sea animals lounging in the sun. You're witnessing a standoff, a turf war, a tiny survival drama playing out beneath the surface. Crabs defending their turf, snails holding their ground, starfish sliding silently into power. Every tide brings a new battle. Every inch brings a new story. And in the Great Tidepool Standoff, victory goes to the creature that wants it the most, or moves at exactly the right moment.